for the Cougar at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on PlusTvAfrica as he probes deep in search of solutions. Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on PlusTvAfrica.
On PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
On the breakfast, reactions are beginning to trail Ukraine's attack by Russia. Russian tells America to stay away.
Company income tax. Company income tax recorded 124.71 billion decline, a naira decline from 472.52 billion naira in quarter 3 2021 to 347.81 billion naira in quarter 4, according to the National Bureau of Statistics. Studios in Victoria Island, Lagos. My name is Kofi Bartels.
And I am Messi Boko. It's good to be back on your screen, and thank God it's Friday.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Mercy looking as flashy as always, taking the shine off me.
Oh, no.
But it's all good. I'll do better next week. Mercy, I don't know if I was telling one of the producers that I was listening to the ongoing coverage on the Russia-Ukraine crisis, and he was like, "Are you listening to?" I said, "Yeah, I need to know if I should hide under this table. The bomb is coming, a missile is coming our way." Yeah, Russia, Ukraine took the most of the discourse, by people not just around the world, but in Nigeria yesterday, and the eyes of everyone have been fixed on.
I have been following the conversation from start up until, this moment, and to some point, I have a lot of people saying you're getting very personal with this issue. Oh, wow. Not necessarily angry, but maybe worried, scared, and asking too many questions. Quite unfortunate. Everything's going on is just a matter of interest. It's just a power clash, and that's what happens. And we would always live with all of this. But the major concern for us right now is the fact that you have Nigerians there. Because usually when you have nations come together, and all the African, African countries around.
Especially students.
Students, really. Now, but usually when nation state comes together, they would always think about national interest. I mean, home interest. And so home interest would always supersede, the global. As much as we constantly say there's need for global peace, globalization, prosperity, and all of that school of thought. But that's not the real sense. In reality, when nation state come together.
To take sides, because you want to see how it plays. If, for instance, because once you take sides, it's going to affect you years and decades down the road. So let's just get the truth and leave President Buhari alone. All those on Twitter who you don't understand what's going to leave, but we shouldn't say anything. What if they say pendulum of international politics and, the power tussle swings, you might lose out. You understand? So let them leave the country for now. But anyway, the government has been speaking. We'll look at that later. But the House of Representatives seems to be the more quick and vocal, yes, and people-centered, a chamber, because they're like a parliament. They have representatives from everywhere, not just 3 per state, and they have demanded an immediate evacuation of Nigerians in Ukraine. They're offering to shoulder the responsibility. I mean, I haven't seen.
No, that sounds very patriotic. Sounds very patriotic.
Nobody wants Air Peace to take the shine alone. Sorry, I'm saying that. Before now, it'll be the owner of Air Peace who will say, okay, I'm going to South Africa to fly Nigerians because government is not doing it. So nobody wants Air Peace to take the shine alone this time. So they all have to chip in. And it's a public relations thing. So they are saying that they, House of Reps, will shoulder the responsibility of evacuating Nigerians from Ukraine. Now, yesterday at plenary, the lower chamber mandated the chairman House Committee on Foreign Affairs, he's from Kano State, APC, Hassan Doguwa, to liaise with the leader of the House and then the chairman of the Committee on Foreign Affairs, Buba Yakub, to liaise with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the issue. And I know that Geoffrey Nyoma is one of the best ministers we have around, in terms of his understanding of what his portfolio is about. He's A-OK. So they are going to liaise with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to see what will happen. They adopted a motion moved by Ahmed Munir from Kaduna State APC yesterday. And when the honorable member of the House of Reps was presented a motion, he said that there's a need for Nigeria to evacuate its citizens from the country. As we speak, I listened to a group of Kenyans who were saying that they're not in Kiev. Most of them are not in Kiev. That's the capital. It's not cheap to live in the capital. Most of them don't have plans, have not budgeted traveling at this time. So they have not made budgets to travel and stuff. So even getting to leave the country will be difficult on their own. The ATM points are so much more than they've seen. And even when you stand on the ATM queue for hours, when you get to the point where you have to dispense or get your money, you're not sure if the ATM is going to give you money. Now that's another challenge. Is to get to a place like Poland, you need visas because they are not EU citizens. The Nigerians, the Kenyans, the Ghanaians, and other countries, other nationals. So they need their countries to get them emergency visas to be able to go to Poland. It's from Poland, probably they can fly, except the Ukrainian airspace is open. Now, do you want to be flying in an airspace that has missiles?
One of the concerns that I actually had, because we also saw the report from the Nigerian embassy in Kyiv, and we could actually see. Now, from looking at the statement, because it feels like we have we have a series of statements or comments that has been put out by the
Did you see the one from the Foreign Affairs Ministry?
Yes.
With the grammatical errors.
Arrows, what have you craft in war zone? It's a war zone right now, and the Ukrainian airspace has been shot. But it was actually a dilly-dally situation where a lot of people were in doubt whether or not Russia would attack Ukraine or invade Ukraine. However, but this is what the reality is. And one would think that if the government had thought about it, it would be great. Even though some people would say you also have the United Kingdom, you have other countries that have not evacuated its citizens, because no one actually thought that this would really happen, that Russia would invade Ukraine and this would actually happen. But right now, I looked at the letter from the Embassy of India in Kyiv, and you could see that in the letter that the original meaning of hustle is quite different from what we get to say. So, but like you have mentioned, the plan is that people would find themselves, because other countries are also using this, find a way to get to Poland, and then evacuation can actually start. And maybe that might just be the plan for the Nigerian government.
Well, yesterday the Nigerian embassy in Ukraine, there was a joke going on around social media that someone said some people said they called the minister and he was not picking his call. So people started joking, saying, no, the ambassador, sorry, and he wasn't picking his call. And some people started saying, no, he's trying to take himself with his family. Why would he pick your call at this time? When missiles are flying over. But anyway, the official statement then, yesterday from the Nigerian embassy in Ukraine, they were urging...
The war zone. The schedule for special flights stands cancelled. I don't know if you understand. So alternative arrangements are being made for evacuation of India's national embassy. Will convey information as soon as such arrangements are finalized, so the Indian nationals can relocate to western part of the country. And we have also mentioned Poland and all of this. Now, they also say that so they're asking that please carry your passports and necessary documents. You're also advised to follow the embassy website and social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Post for updates on this regards. For reference, details of the embassy helplines are contained below, and so you have the telephone lines, stated, and that's it. Very simple. Just go look at it as. It's very lengthy, but it just feels like you don't even understand what's going on. Even though I know that after that there's been a lot of communication saying, oh, yes, we're going to make prior arrangements and all of that. But however, it's okay that the Nigerian government is also showing interest. Some people say that, but how that feels like, you can only imagine. And our prayers and our hearts are with those in Ukraine, Russia, and everyone, and also with Nigerians. And we're hoping that we'll do everything possible. Everyone will come together and find a way to ensure that lives and properties are saved.
All right, another one, and no fear than in 2021 alone. First of all, I think that for the government of Kaduna State, is this one of the performing governments, the organized governments in Nigeria? You see people sit down here in the southern part of the country and they spew rubbish, because they don't know what's going on. Yeah, El-Rufai is one of the performing governments. And if you look at the structure of government, you understand the structure of government. It's for me, to be able to collate the figures is one thing, okay? At least to know what's going on is one thing. Governments, state governors these days do not have the full and total control of security apparatus in their domains to be able to do what they would like to do, you understand? And last time we talked about El-Rufai meeting through his deputy with chiefs, rulers, leaders, traditional and religious, as well as youth groups, trying to tell them that they should not attack themselves. And then some days later, there were attacks and reprisal attacks in some part of that state. So I think that for us to hear and see the statistics is one thing. It's good that the government is keeping their hands on to know what's going on. But at the same time, people want to hear that something is being done about this. So is this a call by the government of Kaduna State to the federal government to say we need to have the same measures that you're having for the northeast in terms of the Boko Haram insurgency? You have to apply something like that for the northwest in terms of banditry, because right now, as it seems, is taking more lives than Boko Haram. He says that Kaduna State government so far spent 21 billion naira, okay, on supporting the security agencies in terms of logistics to fight bandits in the state in the last 7 years. So how come nothing has been achieved? If the state government says yes, they've been giving security agencies logistic support to the tune of 21 billion naira in the last 7 years, why do we still have this thing getting worse?
So, I mean, it could be, encompassing. First of all, the fact that we have to establish that these governments are not in control of the security act. Over 211 million people, or 200 million people, that's the latest statistics, 211 from the United Nations as of, 2021, July to be precise. So it calls for a lot of concern. Could it be that there's also, because it goes beyond that, chief security also would want to say that if you look at all of this, the fight, most times it's just, how we have handled the security issue across board. And that would also send a signal to all the criminal elements, I beg to say, who would always want to think that because we don't, there's really nothing going on, so we can just go out there and do whatever we want to do. Nothing's going to happen. And so that might just be the case. But, however, if this is the case, if this is something to go by, then there's a lot to be done. You also need to look at the issue of, the manpower. Do they have enough manpower? What's the level of intelligence?
As a result of bandits, Katsina State, the president's home state, 3 times more than you have in Kaduna State. So he's saying that he's persuaded that the banditry situation in the northwest is far more serious than Boko Haram, both in terms of number of the people affected. I usually do not illegal refinery, spots. The governor was able to mobilize and galvanize security architecture of the state to do that. But I think that at some point you need a level of organization and attention and military or security hardware, and commitment to tackle issues in the southeast, especially in Imo State. What you're seeing here, it is beyond the scope, I think, of what the governor alone should handle. Nigeria, as we speak, it's not just a Kaduna State matter. It's Kaduna, Katsina, Zamfara State, and other states. The country is in danger of being, in the Sahel area, in Libya, for instance, has affected other parts of West Africa. So we have to have a concerted and wide-ranging, effort, if I can call it that, for want of a better word, from the center to say, what do we do? When Nigeria was attacked under the Shagari administration, and this same president was in charge of security in that part of the country, he was able to galvanize Nigerian troops to chase out Metesina, even when the president had ordered that he stop into Chad. So
for me, when I say that, we understand the fact that the security architecture is in the exclusive list, and because it's very sensitive, we feel like the argument over time would be that the center is overburdened with several concerns and issues that need to decentralize. As a matter of fact, if we truly are a federal capital, if we truly are a federation, then states should be able to control the security apparatus. But you would also have some school of thought who would say, does that solve the security issue? Peradventure, we get to a point where we have, states controlling the security architecture, and then they have control. Will this issue of bandits and banditry be solved? So number one would be the fact that you look at the fight against insurgency or the fight against bandits and crimes and criminals. We haven't treated this, there's no implementation. It feels like we have treated this with kid glove. We see constantly how we treat people who have committed crime, and we make excuses for this person, all in the guise of saying, oh yeah, there should be amnesty. And this region is saying, oh, you granted amnesty to XYZ, so you should grant amnesty. At the end of the day, it boils down to the political will to address the issue of security and all of the concerns that would arise from all of that. So yes, for the reason that I would always argue that you can't, the governors should not, as much as we know there's no constitutional provision for them, to tackle, to handle the security architecture in their states. They're not responsible. However, you can also not take out the fact that you are governor of a state. Whatever it takes, however it takes, just as a lot of them would say, whatever it takes, to become in power. You should be concerned about the people in your constituents, the people that you govern, not also taking out the fact that security votes have been put out. So if the Nigerian governors are very interested, and if the Nigerian governors are very sincere, if they really want unison, what stops all of them? Imagine the 36 governors are advocating for the police to be decentralized. I mean, that power should be transferred from the center to the units. If that's the challenge. But so I'm saying that it goes beyond the challenge. It also, we also need to look at the fact that what is the willingness? How many persons have we prosecuted? How many persons have we arrested? How far have we dealt with this issue? Are people paying for what they have to do? Is the law taking its course? So these are some of the issues, and you also need to look at the number. And we're talking about strength in this point. How equip the men of the Nigerian police. So the issue is actually encompassing, but we definitely hope, as our democracy is very nascent, we need to move away because we're really, really out of time. And we hope that we have more time sometime soon to talk about this. We step on the brakes right now, and when we return, it will be time for us to check out the national dailies and bring you up to speed what's making the rounds.
To blow in Nigeria.
Welcome back to The Breakfast and Plus TV Africa. Time for Off the Press. As always, we take you through the pages of our national dailies. We have Jide Johnson, who is on standby. Good morning, Jide Johnson. Well, as soon as we're able to establish connection with Jide Johnson, we'll definitely have him share his thoughts on some of the national issues that we have on the front burner. I'd like to start off with the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, and the attention will be on the top caption. Looking at the front page, it says, Ukraine crisis. 12,000 students order Nigerians trapped. That's what's boldly written on the Daily Trust newspaper. We're living in fear, students quoted to say. Parents are worried. Federal government arranged special flight operation for evacuation. Investigation link please military and personnel to terrorism financing, according to Governor El-Rufai. Air Peace disrespects the Emir of Kano.
Imposition, no need for soothsayer.
Nigerians send SOS to Buhari, demand evacuation. Federal government fails to provide timeline for evacuation as